I wrote a human interest column for a newspaper for over a dozen years. I've written articles for my webpage for over a quarter of a century. And in all those essays, there has never been an essay that I've written that is more honest, to the point, and from my heart as this essay. And this essay is about a Christmas ornament. And these Christmas ornaments are made by a company called Li Bin in China. And this is the ornament that this essay is about. It's an angel. And the Li Bin company will, what they do is make each year probably 15 or 20 different shapes, different colors, different themes, different motifs for Christmas ornaments. But what they have done is to take a very small paintbrush and paint the inside of the ornament, and it comes out quite beautiful. I mean, each one of them is dated. I don't think you can see that, but oh, here it is. It's dated the year that you buy it for that Christmas. And what I do is each Christmas, and I've done this for over a dozen years, each Christmas I will make a list of all the people who are going to get Christmas ornaments from me. And I make a list, my children's names, my grandchildren's names, friends and family members, and people that I owe something to. And I will go to the company or the store that sells these with the list. And then I'll look at all the varieties that are for that particular year that this company is offering. And that process of hand picking for a reason every one of those ornaments is a time-consuming effort. But I'd have it no other way, because everybody that gets one of the various options has gotten it for a particular reason, that object that was painted on the inside of that Christmas ornament reminded me in some way of that person. And the ornaments are what I call treasures, my treasures. And my house is loaded with my treasures. A dozen or more Christmas ornaments, but I have things I've picked up overseas, and they remind me of when I was there in that country. And but I was rearranging the house and getting things more neat and more orderly. And when I took all my Christmas things down, including these ornaments, I took put everything else away, and these ornaments were put over my bookshelf because I wasn't ready to put them in the cabinet where I was going to put them because I emptied the cabinet. And so this happened just several weeks ago. I had finished teaching late at night, an online class, proofread a couple of articles that I was in the process of writing, and I was ready to hit the hay. And, you know, he's turning the computer off, and all of a sudden, this angel started to talk to me. Now, I have, for probably the last year or so, I have had various objects around that are my treasures talk to me. It began with a Tibetan cabinet I got while I was teaching over there. I'd been to Tibet twice, and I saw this cabinet, and I had it imported for me. And about a year ago, that cabinet started talking, which seemed to kind of break the ice, and 2 or 3 times, probably 2 or 3 times each month, some object around the house, some of my treasures, start to talk to me. And a couple weeks ago, this started to talk. I told you that I love this ornament, and I told you that, you know, it's sometimes I'll buy something that I want, that I like, and I will give it also to some other people that I think that reminds me of them or whatever. For some reason, I would want to give it to them. And this past year, I gave this to 3 other people, and they've all received letters about it. So, you know, I've been honest with you, I like this ornament. The problem is that the ornament was she wasn't impolite. She was kind of critical of me. And she began her discussion with me about saying, you know, you're really a driven young man. And I said, yeah, I am driven. And she said, you know, for the last 6 months, she was able to sit back and watch me writing about lots of things. And one of them was when I was in Myanmar, which used to be called Burma. And she mentions about, you know, that really got you driven, got you motivated, got you moving. You know, I told her, I mean, she knew all about it, about trying to interview Aung San Suu Kyi. Wasn't able to get contact with her. But by the time I got to Yangon, I had an interview set up with Min Kun Aung. And Min Kun Aung is, from my vantage point, is kind of Bobby Kennedy for the people of Myanmar. He spent more years in the gulags in Myanmar than I spent in 4 years of college, and then another 4 years of graduate school, and another 4 years of postgraduate school. He spent more than a dozen years in the gulags, along with all the other civil rights, or what we call civil rights, what the world calls human rights, protesters. Many of the people that spent time in the gulags never got out. So the interview with Min Kun On was, that was an important interview for me to see and to talk to somebody so dedicated as he was. And so I interviewed him. Then Tin Hutton, who is my tour guide, took me up north from Yangon, and we went up to Mandalay and Inland Lake and worked our way back and went down the other side of Myanmar and came back to Yangon. And Min Kun On had invited me to a luncheon, a Independence Day luncheon for the people of Myanmar. Their Independence Day is January 4th. And I had the opportunity to go to this luncheon and meet all of the old guard, all of whom had spent 10, 15 or more years in the gulags. I mean, it was a great opportunity for me to sit and have dinner or lunch with these people and talk about things that were important to them. In the middle of the luncheon, Min Kun On leans over to me and says, "What time's your plane leave tonight?" And I said, 8, 9 o'clock. And that was at noon, so 8, 9 hours from now I was free. And he said, and he knew exactly what my answer would be before he even asked. He said, "Alan, would you like to come to a protest rally?" Now, that was the most transformative moment, that protest rally, of anything that I have ever done overseas. And with 2 other exceptions, it's probably the most transformative thing that's ever happened to me. My tour guide, Tin Hutton, and I went to the protest rally at Shulay Pagoda. Now, those people who don't know Burmese or Myanmar history very well aren't going to be familiar with this, but on August 8th, 1988, Aung San Suu Kyi spoke at Shulay Pagoda at a demonstration at Shulay Pagoda. Now, it wasn't at the actual pagoda, but the pagoda, the Buddhist pagoda, is in the center of a very large circle in Yangon, and there's a road that runs around the pagoda, and then there are roads that run outside or run out from the circle, like kind of like a road. Spokes of a wheel. And the protest rally had a couple thousand people, or a couple 100,000 people there. So there was no way that it was at Shulay Pagoda, but it was in that general area of a half-mile radius of Shulay Pagoda. Aung San Suu Kyi was speaking at this rally, and the military dictatorship came in for no reason at all, except for it was a rally, and merely killed, they say, only a couple hundred people. The protesters claim several thousand, just because they were at a rally. And there I was, taking pictures, talking to Tim Hutton, this tour guide of mine, and all the old guard was up on this little platform making speeches. I don't know one single word in Burmese. And so what they were saying was just kind of background noise to me. I couldn't understand what they were saying. The only thing I could hear in my head, and I clearly heard it in my head, was Joan Baez singing, "We Shall Overcome." And there I was at this protest rally in Myanmar, and I'm morphing myself back into the civil rights movement back in the 60s. But the angel, I mean, I've written about this. And this thing about, if you want a history lesson about Burmese history, either read my webpage or just go to Google and write down or write in Myanmar 8888, August 8th, 1988. And they just come up with 8888 as kind of their icon for that event. That was a protest rally at Shula Pagoda, resulting in thousands of people getting killed. And I've written about that. Then the angel said, ended the thing about Myanmar, and she said, you also are driven about what you call doing the dance. And I've written hundreds of articles about dancing with death. In the past decade, I've had 2 dances. One with prostate cancer, and that was at the beginning of the year. And I've always checked my prostate, and I've been always good. And all of a sudden, it spiked. And I had to go into the University of Chicago, and Dr. Zorn put a camera inside, cut a hole in several holes in my stomach, put a camera inside, put some cutting instruments inside, and sat behind a computer and did this and took out the prostate. Successful operation, everything went well except for the fact that the cancer had gotten outside, had metastasized outside the prostate, and that he said, I tried to guess where it had been and tried to take extra tissue out, but you're going to have to come back here every 6 months and get a PSA. And so I went back every 6 months, and within a couple of years, it has come back again. Went back in the University of Chicago, sat down with Dr. Stan Liao, who was head of radiology, and he gave me my options. Here's 1, here's 2, here's 3. Which one do you want? I said, Stan, if you were in my shoes, what would you do? And he said, I would probably take hormone therapy for 2 months, take radiation for 2 months, and while you're taking the radiation, continue with the hormone therapy. And I did that, and for the past 5 years, I'm cancer-free. And And those two dances, prostate cancer and the subdural hematoma, the subdural hematoma was my second dance, and it just that happened. That happened 3 months after the prostatectomy. So in 2008, I had surgery on my prostate, and the subdural hematoma. I was in the spring on May 18th. I was up on my a ladder in my under my deck at my house, and I was painting, and I slipped off the ladder. I don't remember any of this, but I slipped off the ladder, and I fell down and hit the back of my head on a concrete block wall that's the wall for a flower bed. And they took me to the emergency room, and the neurosurgeon came in and said to my family, I've seen my patient, and I want to tell you in advance, he has a 50-50 chance of making it through the surgery. Which is probably not the right thing to say to family members, but he was being honest. And so he told them what they're going to do, and he went in and cut my head open, pulled my skin back, then took essentially a saber saw and cut out a big chunk of my skull, took it out, set it aside, and then stitched up my head again. I was in intensive care and in intermediate intensive care for 4 weeks. I was shipped off to another hospital for another 3 weeks, which was a rehab hospital. So I was in the hospital for just over 7 weeks. Only the last 10 days do I remember anything. I don't remember the fall. I don't remember going to the hospital. Don't remember being in the hospital. Don't remember going to the next hospital. Don't remember anything, even though I talked to everybody. So that was my second dance. The first dance with prostate cancer was a long, slow dance. This one was a rather fast dance. I spent 2 months in hospitals, another month at home, and a week or two later, I'm teaching classes again. So those are the two dances. I'm cancer-free, and for the last 5 years, and in my opinion, I'm not going to get prostate cancer back again. The only ill effect that I've had from the subdural hematoma was my hearing is messed up, so I don't hear very well. I have hearing aids, and they're not perfect, but they're better than not having hearing. And the angel, the angel is giving me information about stuff that I've written about, and I knew what the situation was. And what was interesting, so was she. And she knew what was happening, and she was still kept on talking about, you're driven. And I think, I'm driven, but and then she said, you're kind of you're driven, but you're also indecisive. You don't know. Sometimes you don't know what to do, and that's where it kind of irritated me, because I'm sitting here, I'm trying to do what I can do, and she's being critical of me for not doing more. And and she said, I tried to give her an alibi about Dancing with Death, and she said, you have all the information in front of you. You have Randy Pausch, who's done dance. You've written about him all the time. You have Teddy Roosevelt and The Man in the Arena about daring greatly. You have that in front of you. Do you see anything there? And I said, what do you mean? He said, you've done the dance. You're willing to fight the good fight. And even if you fail, at least so get out in the world and do what you have to do. And in the past several weeks, I have done what the angel has told me to do. I wanted to work for an import-export company so that I could help people in Myanmar. And that company they haven't done anything. But I have played, Randy Pausch is always saying, you can't control the cards that are dealt to you. You can only control the way you play your hand. And when that import-export company wasn't going to hire me to help them and the people in Myanmar, I looked at my hand and said, I can play these cards. And it's working out. Didn't get the job. That the angel said, that must frustrate you. And the word is not frustrate. It's a little more than that. But that company's indifference to me and the company's dying the vine itself. It's in Chicago and it's not going to make it. It is dying. And here's a person who has danced with death, who wants to help the import-export company, and who also wants to help the people in Myanmar. And they said to me when I finally got a hold of them, and the board of directors sat me down and we talked, they said, this was a year ago, they would get back to me. I have not heard a phone call from the guy who was the chairman of the board. Haven't gotten a phone call, haven't gotten an email, haven't gotten any correspondence from the company directly. Trust me, the term that I would use is not irritated. But I'm not going to allow them to decide what I do. And I've already decided what I'm going to do. And it's going to work out well. So what I want you to do is to, this has been a long video, but I would like you to read this essay about the angel and about this import-export company. It's about, the import-export company is a professional thing. I have personal issues too, about other unrelated issues. But I have to address them all and deal with them. Carpe diem. Fight the good fight. Dare greatly. And if you fail, at least you have tried and not sat back and just said, that's life and too bad. And therein lies a lesson for each one of you. Whether you've done the dance or not, it doesn't make any difference. You have things that you want done and you haven't been able to accomplish them yet. Sit down, address them, figure out how you're going to do it, and then fight the good fight. Go into the arena like Teddy Roosevelt said. Dare greatly. And even if you fail, at least you tried. So next Christmas, I'll put this ornament back on my tree and thank the angel for talking to me. And hopefully you will be able to look at your own lives and try to figure out what are the things that need to be addressed and address them. Don't worry about failing. Worry only about daring greatly. In the meantime, take care.